Hello and welcome to Candor Beach's weekly recap. So, this is our first episode for the weekly recap. What we're hoping to do is look through things that caught our eye over the last week and then walk you through that. We're going to give you our opinions. We're going to give you an idea of how this might impact us. And without further ado, Silesh, I'm going to let me share my screen. Let's get on with this. So the first thing that we thought about was Apple's new iPhone. Um, on the 12th of September, we had a WWDC, we had a new iPhone get announced, the iPhone 15 and 15 Pro. We got two new watches with the Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2. And earlier this week, we got iOS 17. And my opinion, there's absolutely nothing new in these phones. Zilch, nada. I already said zilch, which is sort of reflective of the Apple motto with this particular phone. There's precious little improvement. There's precious little. I mean, I'm sure it's people have worked hard on it. They've got this whole new titanium casing, which, by the way, is not as durable as the stainless steel one. There have been drop tests done already, and people have found that the Apple 14 Pro with the stainless steel case is a little more durable than the titanium one, simply because the curved edges that they've added, like these, the 15 has exaggerated curves. And while curves are normally nicer, but while what happens with the curves is that it gives you better grip on the phone, but it also exposes the glass a little more, and that has affected durability. With the Apple Watch Series 9 and the Ultra 2, we have a clip from MKBHD where he's quite literally saying that nobody notices it because there's no different form factor.
Honestly, you could never even tell if someone is wearing the new watch. Matter of fact, I've been wearing around this new Ultra 2 for more than a week now. Nobody's asked about it. Nobody can tell because it looks exactly the same.
And finally, the Apple Watch Series 9, again, with minus the pinkish hue that they've added, there is absolutely no difference. It doesn't look much different, and it wasn't very exciting. Like, I would say the only real difference, the only real changes that have been brought on are to the benefit of gamers because you've got a faster chip, and maybe photographers because the camera gets iteratively improved ever so slightly. So, Sailesh, what are your thoughts and how excited are you about this? Like, if you could grade it.
You forgot the USB-C, the new change in Apple, total change in
It's
charging.
not a new change. It's not a new change. Look, this is an Apple iPad Air.
Yeah,
That's a USB-C right there. The MacBook that this is being
in the
recorded on
iPhone,
has USB-C as well.
so, Apple fans are getting excited over 80-year-old technology. We just spoke about this in the main part, but yeah, but there's no improvement, lack of innovation, So yeah, including the Apple Watch, there's no big difference. Like if you look at it, like okay, yeah, the chip is better. The phone has that dynamic island on all of them. Just not on the Pro. If you and the thing is, there's the disparity between the normal iPhone 15 and the Pro with the USB port speeds, which doesn't make a big difference, but if you are like a professional, it makes a big difference. And finally, I would rate it at between A to F. I would give a E. I wouldn't give it an F. Only just because they did some improvements to the camera. Went from 12 megapixels to 48 megapixels.
And I don't know how often that's going to be used, even because with the previous iPhones, that was an issue. There was an issue with space. They have this new
Mm.
format, HEIF, which dramatically reduces the space consumption from like a 40, 50, 70 MB photo to now a 5 MB photo, which is quite impressive. Um, but yeah, like that's, I I don't know. Like
use
it doesn't
iCloud.
compel me to. It's in a way it's impressive. Like you're compressing a 70 MB file to a 5 MB file. That is impressive, but it's not wowing the audience anymore. So I wouldn't give it an E personally. I would say D. I would rate it as a D, just because it's not wowing me. But at the same time, it is like what they've done overall is impressive. It's just not wild. It's not massive. Anyway, so
Yeah,
moving on. We talked about how the iPhone was a little better for photographers and gamers are front and center for our next bit.
yeah.
Stylish?
So most of these phones, everything is like upgrading the chip, making bigger GPUs. Like the graphics card are improving, just for so that the people like gamers are being targeted. That's going to be the next frontier for the entire industry. Like the luxury brands are targeting gamers because gamers have a lot of money. And how and the luxury brands want a piece of it. So I think if you look at it, there is a huge focus of luxury brand industries um, targeting gamers. They have in the gaming targeting. So look, there was an article about it too. So I think you
I
were
would say
posting
that
it.
I would say that it's not just luxury brands. I think there's been a holistic shift. You
Hmm.
would like gamers earlier, and I used to be associated as a gamer. I think like I used to sit down and play World of Warcraft, Dota,
Hmm.
which is Warcraft 3 and extension. I quite enjoyed gaming, and you used to have this association with gamers as absolute nerds, like people who are sitting in their rooms, caved in, playing on their computers all day. But today, thanks to streaming, there has been this shift where gamers now have a little more importance. Gamers have more money. Gamers are, again, like front and they have come in front and center. So the articles that we have here are talking about how luxury brands are now focusing on the $188 billion industry. That is what gamers can potentially provide. You have the likes of Apple, Microsoft, Sony, all targeting they've been focused on gaming for a while. They're just improving. Uh, they're making leaps and bounds in that industry. Microsoft recently acquired, I shouldn't say recently anymore, right? It's been a couple of years now, a year at least, 2 years.
Hmm.
Like it hasn't gone through yet, but Microsoft and Activision,
Activision. Yeah.
their acquisition there, uh, Apple's increased focus on better processing, better GPUs so that you can now game on mobile devices. They've got Apple Arcade that they announced a couple of years back. Sony
Like,
coming up with new iterative improvements. They came up with a new product, the PlayStation Portal, which is now a handheld
mm,
device another handheld device that you can play. Like Nintendo's always been massive in the industry with its Switch. So gamers are now being focused on, and like you will also see that Japan, Japan is now incorporating video games into their room. It's becoming a part of the furniture. People are now looking at getting in soundproofed rooms, rooms where there are no visual glares. Those are USPs. Those are things that people are focusing on. And of course, you have more and more platforms, more and more brands targeting gamers. So
yeah,
once again,
Dressed
Sailesh,
is
throwing
pretty
it to
big.
you.
Yeah,
Sorry?
Dressed is actually the app. Dressed is actually pretty big.
Hmm.
It's a way where you can go virtual. You can you create your own avatar, and you go on there, and you can actually try on all the luxury products and see how they look on you. So that is a new way of looking at it. Completely virtual, like a metaverse universe. So Dressed is the coming up app actually, which will actually take take everything by a storm, I think.
You
especially
should
in
definitely try it
fashion.
out, Silesh. I think you'd
Yeah.
look great with a Birkin bag.
Pink hair for me
Yep. All right. So, what would
soon.
you
We'll
rate this
set up
as? How excited are you about this?
this. I would rate it at like a B. There's a lot of potential that's new, and there can be a great innovation achievements in it. So yeah, definitely a B. What about you?
As a former gamer, a solid A. Honestly, like if I've been looking at soundproofing my own room, not for gaming, but like
Yeah.
so I do music, and soundproofing is something that would be an incredible quality of life improvement. What else? Like anti-glares. I have four screens staring at me right now, and like where I'm sitting. So I think like a gamer setup would definitely be something that I would care about, whether I was playing games or not. The fact that luxury brands are now paying attention to these group of people is fantastic, in my opinion. It's wonderful to see an evolution, an overall evolution. I hope they don't get overly carried away. Like as an example, you have companies like Steam, and they've been selling skins on on a lot of games, like including Dota. And
Mm.
the fact that you're buying, the fact that people are spending upwards of 50, 100, $200 on digital skins is a little hard for
Yeah.
me to swallow. I think you'd mentioned this a few days ago that people have been buying houses worth $200,000 on the metaverse. That is a concept that's still a little
Yeah.
hard for me to swallow, but I think it's potentially a step in the right
It will
direction.
become it will become mainstream soon.
So long as there's enough realism, I'm fine. Anyway, number three, the Fed
Yeah.
rate.
So we were discussing it. Like I was saying, the Fed's going to raise at least 25 basis points more, but they came out with not raising it. Um, I'm glad they didn't raise it. It's going to be a disaster if they raised it. Um, I mean, if you look at it, like the inflation cooled off a little bit, and so they didn't have to raise it, but they didn't lower it down. The hike is still 22 year. It's at 22 year high. So that's one major issue. They didn't lower it down. So I think they're gonna keep it like this for a little bit more,
So
for a while, I guess,
I read
till the end of the year.
I read speculation, and I'd speculated myself that they weren't going to change rates for a while. The inflation is coming down slightly, but it's not coming down at a rapid pace. They would want for this to be controllable, and mm, like I believe reducing the rates at this point in time might be a little too soon because inflation hasn't come down sufficiently just yet. I didn't think that they would
Mm.
raise the rates just yet. That was part of our discussion. That was because I thought that it would be disastrous for the economy. With rate hikes, you already see
Yeah.
the stock market getting bogged down slightly, and that would just exacerbate the situation if you pushed it a little further. Because borrowing would become a little more expensive, there'd be less capital to spend. Loans would get more expensive because of the interest that you're paying, and that would also curb down the overall spending within the economy because, again, less capital, less liquidity overall in the economy because borrowing becomes more expensive, of course. So I didn't think
It would
that the Fed was going
also
to do that to the
hurt
US economy just
I
yet.
think it would also hurt
Sorry?
the banks. So I think it would hurt the banks too. So if you look at it,
Yeah,
like the hikes actually caused those major banks collapse. Like the Silicon
the
Valley
run on the
Bank.
banks,
The
the run on the banks
yeah.
caused the collapse. But yeah, the hikes
I
influenced it
mean,
because the treasury bills
the
that they
influence.
held, the bonds that they held
The,
they had to fire sale when the run on the banks came in. Anyway, so it's good news that the Fed has not hiked rates, and that's those are the three major focuses that we had for you guys today. Apple's new
Rating on
ish
the
products.
Fed. What
Yeah,
about the
I'm going to
rating
come
on
to
the
that.
Fed?
I'm going to come to that. I clearly forgot, but I'm going to come to that. The focus on gamers and the Feds. Uh, my rating on the Fed decision, I think, is a B. Like, I'm glad they didn't change it. I would have been I don't know what would be a great, like, what would be a good action for them. I think, no, I'm going to change that. I'm going to say A because it is the perfect action. Like, you shouldn't be reducing rates at this point in time, and you shouldn't be increasing rates at this point in time. So, what else could they do? What they did, I think, was a stellar job by not raising rates, by not changing
Um,
rates, pardon me.
no, I would go with a C because it would have been better if they lowered them down, like probably 25 basis points. You
But
know,
then you'd be back to
they didn't.
facing inflation, in my opinion. Like you'd be back to facing higher inflation. Like you want the inflation to get curbed, you want the inflation to get pushed down. You need people to actively change their consuming behavior, their purchase behavior, and
Yeah,
that's
but
only
I
going to happen if it's something that they're experiencing over a period of time, not a short pinch.
sure. Yeah. We can agree to disagree. Um, sure. I would give it a B. I would say.
Okay, so we both upped our rating by a +1.
Yeah.
Finally,
Sure.
we've got our special mentions. One, there have been talks about the fact that Apple and Google have a monopoly over their app stores, their respective platform app stores. And there have been discussions by the European Union, amongst other bodies, about how uh, these companies, tech giants, need to allow for changes, need to allow for other companies to step in to reduce this monopoly. PhonePe, this Indian company, payments company, is coming out with its own app store that's been released to Android developers. We don't know whether they're going to provide sufficient impetus for people to sign up for this app store, but there's that. Uh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Rupert. I think this is something pretty new. Like I kind of welcome it because I think the downfall of Fox News started with firing of Tucker Carlson. So Tucker went out and he has about on his videos he got 100 million impressions on Twitter. I mean X. Sorry. Yeah, I mean Rupert Murdoch kept Fox News and Wall Street Journal very alive. Yeah, I would say the industry welcomes it, and that's another very good news. What do you think about it?
I mean, he's ruled the roost for what, 7 decades? So
Mm.
I
It's like
guess I guess
all
there's
the I would say the dinosaurs are giving it to the kids, right? So like the George Soros, Rupert Murdoch, passing on the gavel to the kids.
Ambani as well,
Oh yeah, Ambani.
Mukesh
Yeah,
Ambani as well.
yeah,
What I was going to say, and what I was going to say about it is, I think it's good to allow investors to experience new leadership for a period of time, like as opposed to if it was a little more sudden, like say in case it was, God forbid, because of their demise that we experience this change, then there would be there would be panic. But if people
yeah.
can
Smooth
experience newer
transition.
leadership, yeah, it's smoother transition, and I think that's a key benefit that you get out of this. All right, finally, the last piece up here, Silesh.
Yeah, I kind of dig it. YouTube, YouTube Create. Like
Mm.
it took me a while to learn the Da Vinci one, right? So, and YouTube is actually way easier. I see. I was looking at videos how the editing of videos through YouTube Create, and this will be a game changer if they actually like if everybody starts using it. And it's very easy. It looks very easy to edit on YouTube Create.
My
You
opinion,
have
DaVinci and Final Cut Pro are going to be tools that professionals use. YouTube Create
mm,
is something that professionals might dabble with, but it's
yeah,
primarily targeted towards your Canva audience, the audience that you know isn't necessarily like a graphics designer or someone who's proficient with design, but can now. Like that's what Canva did, right? Like it enabled people. Now, graphics designers believe that
yeah,
Canva has brought down creativity to an extent, or the quality of design overall, because it's increased time to market. I mean, it's decreased time to market, and it's enabled a larger population. It's empowered a larger population to do what they were doing. But beyond that, I think
mm,
YouTube Create is going to occupy the same place. It's going to occupy the same position. It's going to empower a newer generation to get in there and create content. So from that perspective, I guess it's a good thing. I am a little concerned about how it's going to stack up versus DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro. And that might be a bit of an issue because, like, here's the thing, like, if you want to be a good creator, if you want to win out in a large market, in a sea of people, you are going to have to differentiate your product. Now, when you're
mm,
enabling more people to differentiate, or enabling more people to bring in this designing, bring in their capabilities with design, the problem is the differentiation is going to the requirement for differentiation is going to be that much more. You are going to have to work
sure,
that much harder to create better stuff. And if you are going to have to work harder, it normally means you're going to have to spend a little more. So I think it's going to become a little more expensive for people who are already using professional grade software.
I feel like
That was what I was thinking.
you paid for Final Cut Pro and it's burning you.
Dude, I paid 25K for Final Cut Pro. And then there were all of these add-ons as well. That I'm not regretting the purchase, and I'm not saying that the YouTube Create should have like a payment wall or something of that sort. I'm just thinking that now people are going to up their game and say, all right, now if you want to compete with the people that YouTube Create has got, spend more. That's not something I
Yeah,
particularly care for.
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think we don't need ratings on the mentions. I guess.
All
Well,
right, so thank you so much for tuning in to a new form of episodes. We're going to try and keep this short. This
mhm.
was a little longer than we had hoped for. We'll try and keep this a little shorter going forward. But thank you
Yeah,
for
2 minutes,
watching and see you on the
10 to
next one.
15 minutes. Thank you.